While we've been meaning to install a brand new WARN Zeon 10s winch into the front bumper of our Jeep JL Wrangler Rubicon Unlimited, we decided to change things up and instead install a brand new LoD Destroyer Shorty front bumper. As you can see, it's made so that you can reuse your factory fog lights, comes with a winch plate built right into it, and we also got it with the optional skid plate that goes underneath. Okay, so to begin the installation, I'm going to go ahead and remove the air dam, or in this case skid plate, that comes on the steel bumper group for the Rubicons, and we're going to use a 13mm wrench to get these off. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is just unplug the wiring harness for the fog lights. On the passenger side of the Jeep, there's just a single wire that's plugged into the frame rail right here, and what you're going to do is you're going to push on the harness, or the plug that is, and pull that out. Once we remove the bumper, all the wires will come out with it and we can figure out what to do with them later. So now we're going to remove the plastic trim that's just in front of the grill, and what you're going to do is you're going to get a screwdriver and just pry up on the tab, and we'll do this one as well. Just carefully pry up so it's pulled up, and the whole thing should just pop right out. Alright, so the front bumper is secured to both frame rails using 4 nuts, as you can see here. These are the 2 inner nuts, and there's 2 on the opposite side as well. And we're going to use a deep well 18mm socket on a ratchet extension, and we're going to start removing them now. Okay, so now we're going to work on the driver's side bolts. Get all the inner bolts off first, or nuts that is. We're going to leave that one on finger tight just so it doesn't fall on us unexpectedly. And there you go. Front bumper is off. Alright, so what we need to do next is we're going to need to retain all this wiring that's all secured to the factory front bumper, and they're all held in place with these little push tabs. So I'm going to go ahead and use a pry tool to work them out. Okay. Now that all the wiring's off, we're going to use a 10mm socket to remove the screws that are holding in the fog light bezels. Okay, so we removed the factory wiring harness off of our steel bumper and then took off the LED fog light, which we realized isn't necessarily going to work with what we have on our LoD bumper. So as you can take a look over here, this thing is not designed to fit in here at all, which is unfortunate because we love these lights. They're really nice. What I was able to find was a set of old fog lights off of one of our JKs, and this will fit in perfectly. So the downside is this is an incandescent bulb. This is an LED. This even has probably better refraction. But what we could do is probably replace the bulb here into an LED bulb and make it look at least better. So that's what we're going to do for now. So in order to install these fog lights, LoD did provide these self-tapping bolts, as you can see here, and they'll fit into these small holes right here. So if you're using a JK light, or maybe even the new JLs come with lights like this as well if you don't have the LED group, there's a screw on the bottom. This is your adjustment screw. That needs to be pointing downward. We're going to place this up on top. We're going to take one of these tapping screws, self-tapping screws, in a 1/4-inch socket. Alright, so these bolts right here were easy enough to get in this way, but there are these nuts that needed to go on the back side. And so I used a wrench and a piece of tape, and LoD provides these slots on the bottom of the bumper so you can slip your wrench up and in. Okay, using a 5/8" socket, we're going to come in here, tighten up these bolts. Because the nuts are toothed, they're actually going to just hold themselves in place without a wrench. Okay. All right, so now we're going to recycle the wiring. Snap that in place. Feed this through. Pretty sure this goes. There we go. Feed it through here. Through here. And plug that in. All right, now that we've got the bumper installed, we're going to go ahead and install the winch on top of it. And as you can see here, we've got a WARN Zeon 10s. So we're going to open this box up now. Alright. There's the winch. This looks like the winch rope. Looks like all the wiring here. Manuals. Controller. And hardware. Good. Oh, there's fair lead. Alright, so first of all we're going to need to put a fair lead mount onto the bumper. Fortunately we had an extra one that was laying around. Then we're going to take our winch. We're going to carefully place it on the fair lead mount. Then, fortunately, WARN provided all the hardware that we're going to need. You can see that these nylock nuts have shoulders on them, and the winch itself has pockets that you can shove them into. That'll help hold them in place while you're putting them in. So we'll get this kind of lined up. And we're going to take the bolts that WARN provided as well. We're going to try to fish everything up and through. Just loosely tighten them in right now. Alright, so now that we've got the winch partially installed or loosely installed, we're going to take the abrasion guard that WARN provides. We're going to go ahead and slip this onto the rope from the eyelet end. It's going to attach to the winch itself. Feed it all the way through. And then normally, depending on the type of winch rope you're using, you'd actually want to feed this through the fair lead as well. That way, when all is said and done, you'll be ready to go after the rope is spooled onto the drum. So what we're going to want to do is feed the rope through and then up around the drum. And then we're going to take the installation wire. We're going to loop it around and feed it through the drum. So now that we got it fed through, I'm going to go ahead and lock the clutch so that everything is held a little bit better in place. So now we're going to take a pair of pliers, wrap it around, and then pull through. WARN provides this puck, is what they call it. Go ahead and place this puck in here. Alright, so now that the puck is installed into the rope, I'm going to go ahead and open up the clutch again. I'm going to rotate this around so that I can get all the pulling power that I can into this. Lock it up again and pull. There we go. Looks like it's tucked in there pretty good. So using a 16mm wrench for the back side of this bolt and a 17mm socket, I'm tightening up the Haas fair lead onto the fair lead plate. Now we're going to go underneath and secure the winch in place. Using a 15mm wrench, we're going to go up and tighten up all the bolts for our winch plate. It's kind of slow going, so you can't really get a big tool up in here. These for the forwardmost bolts. Just go ahead and keep on tightening them up. The bolts in the back can be wrenched on with a ratchet. Alright, so we need to open up the hood now. You need to disconnect the negative battery lead. Okay, so a 10mm wrench will be needed for this. There we go. Now we're going to need to figure out how to route all these wires, or just the two wires. There, like that. Seems to do less damage. This. There we go, that's better. Using a 10mm wrench, I can now connect the red winch wire to the positive terminal on the battery. Go ahead and tighten this up. After installing the negative battery lead, a 13mm wrench will be needed to remove this larger nut, and that's where I'll be connecting the black winch wire to. Alrighty. Now that we have the winch installed and connected to the battery, we're going to go ahead and reel in our line. So the first thing we want to make sure is that the clutch is engaged, as you can see on the diagram. Then we're going to go ahead, open up the side port, plug in our controller, stand it clear. So the initial line that we spool on, we just want to get about 10 wraps onto the drum, before we go and finish up the rest. So. To finish the installation of the LoD front bumper, a 16mm socket will be needed to remove the following bolts and the plates they're holding onto the frame. The new LoD crossmember can now be installed onto the frame and using the hardware provided. And finally, the LoD skid plate can now be installed onto the bumper and crossmember. And there you have it. Our Jeep JL Wrangler now has a brand new LoD Destroyer Shorty front bumper installed with a WARN Zeon 10s mounted onto the top of it. Of course, we still need to pre-tension our synthetic winch line, but aside from that, we're all ready to go. Thanks for tuning in, and if you're not already a member, we'd love to have you come visit us over at jlwrangler.com and become a part of our online community. Until next time, we'll see you again here on the JL Journal.